Hi, this is C, your virtual grandma, mother. This is harder because it hits closer to home. I was raised by an atheist and an agnostic. I was informed by the time I was 7, and it was explained to me what that meant. My father was the agnostic, my mother was the atheist. My grandmother was a theologian of sorts. She let me read a paper that she had written, an essay she'd written in college. That was my mother's mother. My father's mother also ended up getting a degree and was very intelligent, far more intelligent and devious, according to my mother. I don't know how conscious she was, but her major was a double major in psychology and English. I want to talk about when I first found out that Trump was running for president. I had a knee-jerk reaction that my father was turning over in his grave over it. And I became incensed. But soon enough, I had some clarity. Not that I'm a Trump fan, or a Biden fan, or an Obama fan. As a matter of fact, I don't think we've had any real leadership for a very, very, very long time. Too long. So, hope springs eternal, right? So I get over my anger, my being upset, being incensed, and I open my mind up. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm waiting. I'm willing to see. And I saw a lot of bravado. And he would start something, but wouldn't finish it right. For example, my overall take on it was that in a blended family situation, he was treating the red-haired, blue-haired stepchild like just that, ignoring it and carrying on with the people that helped get him elected, and never addressing the blue-haired stepchild. Never addressing, embracing, including. So I thought, okay, maybe this is going to be different, right? Maybe he'll take that concept of Shark Tank and send out an all points bulletin to all those unemployed, highly educated kids and invite them in for a big powwow and listen to some ideas from the other side. Really listen and give some feedback instead of hiring seasoned, making outsiders insiders, and just switching things up superficially. I kept waiting, going, okay, where's the leadership? Where's the statesmanship? Where's the inclusion of both points of view? How are you going to merge this? So the kids take to the streets, and what does he do? Comes on with the heavy hand, not having addressed yet. Because he was capitalizing on it. Manipulating you by ignoring you. How can that be? I was fighting him tooth and nail. I was calling him every bad name in the book. Me and my friends, we got together and we, rallied against him and, right. You did the external solution without going inward first and going, why am I being triggered? Why does it ever matter who's president? What is leadership? I don't know, because I've never really seen any real leadership. I've seen a lot of slogans. Yes, we can. Change. Here's your pocket change. I signed up a long time ago with the other side, but you just haven't figured that out yet. I'm so slick. And the other side is not the red side. The other side is the inside. The Viladilas. Keeping you all in your head. Acting out of your mind. Oh, so there's some blood loss. Well, that's a few less people we have to support. I knew that a bloodbath was not the answer. So he quotes Gandhi, but he doesn't show any leadership. I mean, before Gandhi went to battle the Brits, the first thing he called for is clean up your act between yourselves. start treating yourselves with respect. Quit cheating each other and backstabbing each other and cutting each other down and, you know, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth and fire with fire. Because there's no way we're going to battle the Brits like this. So I'm not asking you to be passive. I'm asking you to look inside when you're triggered. I'm not red and I'm not blue. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool black sheep. I was an outsider from the get-go. The minute my father left the house to try to save himself, my mother lost all motivation to pretend that she wanted me. In the minute I became 2 years old and started exploring for myself, she started punishing me for it. I'm not going to go into all that. But she told me, just to let you know where I come from, that she chose not to breastfeed my brother because she didn't want to become attached. And what she didn't say was attached to me, like she did with me, and then hated me for it. And when my father left, that sealed the deal for her. And every day he didn't come back, my life got worse and worse and worse. So, daddy abandonment issues. My father, the ivory tower intellectual and alcoholic, with his intellectual buddies introducing him to hard liquor, a step up from beer. And my mother, the doctor's daughter, daddy's little girl, drug addict, prescription drug addict by the time she was 15. So she could compete with the other girls to get the best husband and keep her virginity like she's supposed to and behave decently, super decently. Not just because she was the doctor's daughter, but because her mother knew that she was part black and was trying to pass in the 1950s as white, and didn't tell her daughter for fear that it would get out, but beat the living crap out of her. To make her ultra decent. Now, that's a little peekaboo into my right-wing beginnings, I came from that place and was an outsider looking, watching the parties, watching the adults, and feeling the chill. And just being a stupid, wide-eyed kid and the butt of a joke. Dad, missing in action. Left to die with the enemy. Okay? Hate my dad? Hate my mom? Restoration. To go back. To restore myself before the damage tried to shape me, shape my mind, get a grip. My dad planted some good seeds because he had an intention. Oh, a clean slate. This could be a project. This sounds like a challenge. Let's do this right. With me, the firstborn, female, eldest. You see, my father had unresolved relationship issues and married my mother on the rebound. And then told her the day after he had her, after my mother had saved herself. This is a terrible mistake. I realize now I've made a terrible mistake now that I've been with you. I've just been inside you, and now I'm telling you that I'm rejecting you. I'm just being honest. I'm up in my head because I can't stand being in my heart. Sorry, new wife. Wife. Oh my shame. Everybody wanted me. I was the doctor's daughter. I had suitors. My mother rejected them because they weren't good enough. And she okayed you. Oh my God. God? What God? Whoosh, out the window. Atheist. My mother introduced me to Buddhism. That was my first, well, my friends introduced me to the powers of witchcraft. My friends, the druggies that invited me to my first window pane party. Oh, really? What's that? Sure, I'll come. Fate stepped in and whoosh, I was swept away and sent off to Texas to live with my father because my mother had, and my father was an ambitious wheeler dealer and said, I'm not going to take just her. I get them both or not at all. Of course, not really fathoming the responsibility of one, let alone two, when he had a bunch of unresolved issues and was drinking himself out of his mind half the time. But functional professionally, of course. High performance. Ambitious. Self-starter. Go-getter. Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Which is the way I felt about him before he left. Introspection. Why does it hurt? I know there are real problems. But the blind can't lead the blind. The blind can't even pick a leader. I'm not saying the other side did. I'm just saying that everybody's been blind. Blinded by something. Without an internal guidance system, I'm sorry, I don't care how intelligent you are. You can't outthink your instincts. The ones that mapped you out from 0 to 7. The losses, the damage, the reinforcement of that after 7 in public school systems. Regimentation. Feeling unseen, unheard, unrecognized, alone. like a ghost walking through a crowd. Staying in your head, making lots of friends, or not. But not knowing how to restore yourself to a sense of peace and balance so that you can make a good, healthy decision. Not an adult decision, a healthy decision. Empowerment. Being able to self-correct and balance. I don't have self-esteem issues. I'm perfectly confident. Why, I'm so good at this and so good at that and the other thing and blah, 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 blah. And you know that you're good at it because you believe it, because you know it deep down. You have a quiet confidence about it. Or do you have a lot of rah, 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 rah in your head about other people that makes you feel a little bit better? A pacifier to make you feel better. The quiet rah, rah, rah. Meanwhile, putting on a really good shoe. Authentic, multifaceted, diverse within yourself. Capable of exploring all sorts of possibilities within. Before deciding if you would be most effective going external for a solution. Not because your friends all make sense and you resonate with them and you feel them and they feel you, and getting away from the groupthink. Groupthink. Stockholm syndrome. Just because you can say the words and intellectualize the concept doesn't mean you're immune and not subject to those dynamics. It's a huge mistake that people who are highly in their intellect lean on. They like to stay there. It's more comfortable than here. Here. Making choices and not being happy with any of them. But don't want to complain because you're on the wagon with everybody else. that's on the wagon with you. We're in this together. Are you really together individually? Alone? Are you together when you're alone? Do you feel free to speak up for, dare you, the other side? Like when Trump was in office, and I saw some headline somewhere that said something to the effect of, where are the job descriptions for these positions? And I totally identified with him at that point because I had been dealing as a mom on with the government because we were living on disability, my husband's disability income. This problem of trying to figure out who was in charge of what exactly. And there used to be a lot more people in government, but a lot of them just grew older and bailed out because they retired and they wanted to do something else with their lives. And new people with less of a clue moved in. Less of a clue, less of a sense of public responsibility, response able. Feeling certain that it was okay with them to okay things that were unusual. Response able. Accountable. Response able, accountable. I'll be accountable for that. I'll take responsibility. I'll take the heat for this. I'm going to okay this. Because I've been here long enough and I know nobody's got your back but me. I hear you. I'm okay with heat. I can stand in the kitchen. I can take the heat of being the odd man out, losing my job over this. Because I believe in my purpose, my sense of purpose. I have meaning in my life. I make sacrifices. And I'm willing to stand up and fight and say, go ahead and fire me. But I think it's right because of this and that. Responsible, accountable. And they didn't learn that on the job. They got it at home. And what they didn't get at home, they worked on themselves. Actively doing shadow work. Looking at the ugly within. Dealing with the conflicts within so that they could be of service, public service, to whoever happened to creep up their way, fight their way through the bureaucracy to get to them. Phone calls from a closet in Henry B. Gonzalez's office with my baby in my arms, creeping up because they didn't have the staff to deal with my problems. What a congressman. I heard one time a story about how he was in Earl Abel's with his opposition, and the two of them got into it and started fist fighting right there in the restaurant. They felt so passionately. It's like, oh, horrors. A congressman, a statesman, acting like an animal. Somebody who really believed in what he was doing and talking about. And it was another, I believe, congressman or some such a, and it's like, okay, no, this is gentleman. I'm not pulling I'm a congressman, and so if you look at me cross-eyed, I'm going to throw your ass in jail. This is between a couple of men here. Come on. Response-able. Sounds like it's out of control, right? Not. He ran the best office. How does an out-of-control person do that? He had the best staff in Washington and at home. When you called to the DC office, they were all over it. They knew what committees and who was on them and you name it. You call up there now and you got some girl answering the phone going, and I said to the girl, I said, do you have a Rolodex? What's that? Do you have like an address book or? No, there's just a number right here on the desk. I'm to tell you to call, which is the local office. That's when I knew things had changed. 2007, 8, 9. Oh, what a coinky dinky. The big crash. that didn't result in pitchforks and torches. So, what happened? Was it all a scam? Or has AI been keeping everything afloat? At a certain top level. And so all the intelligent people in the know that knew who was on what committee and all those sorts of people, whoosh, exit stage right. Bye-bye. Going to save myself. Because if I can't save myself, what the hell can I do for you? Exactly where my dad was coming from when I was 7. I found my father was an architect and an intellectual and had a teaching scholarship at Cornell. They had to tell him to stop testing, Mr. Carrigan. You're way in there. Stop. And I'm not like that. Maybe I was brain damaged because of all the abuse. I don't know, but I'm not. I'm just like slightly above average, slightly. But I'm a big feeler. I was an introvert as a child and had to make a decision when my father, in a drunken state, threw me out of the house. And I didn't know that he was going to be better in the morning and I should just wait it out. I left and didn't come back because that was the last straw for me in terms of daddy betrayal. I'll do it myself. And luckily, they did not have laws about identification, so that I was able at 14, 15 to go to work without showing any ID and just being mature enough to pass the interview and work hard and learn as fast as I could. I had trouble keeping jobs, but at least I was good at getting them and kind of treading water and keeping myself alive to the point where after I'm so proud when the telephone company back then returned my deposit after a year and said, "You've been a good customer, we're returning your deposit." Oh my God. Yes, they did that. And they used to pay interest when you didn't file right away, like you waited a few years and then you filed. They would pay you interest on the money that they were keeping, your income tax money. Now then they started doing all sorts of crazy stuff like dropping years and, oh well, you can only collect so many years back and the rest is ours. Too bad, so sad. Oh yes, and there's no interest anymore. No. Oh, and by the way, you've been working and we've got you in the IRS system, but nobody's representing you because you don't vote. So we're just going to start passing a bunch of laws, cutting the budget because we're dying. That was in the 1970s. I've been a single mom and head of household, and it stinks being in charge. I'm tired of it. However, I have insight to share. I hope it's healing.